welcome back to my channel. I am just taking a quick break this week from vlogs because I have something that I want to talk to you guys about. That is something that's sort of important for sort of the here and now for this week. In case you guys don't know, I have applied for the Cultural Exchange Programme for summer 2017, which basically means that you get to go over to Florida, Walt Disney World, and work there for around about 3 months. This one is an international programme, so there are a couple of countries that actually are eligible for this. And I have been accepted through the first stage and onto the pre-screen interviews, which is the first set of interviews whereby you go and you're in a group of people and you get asked questions by the Yummy Jobs team, who are the company that you will apply through before actually meeting the guys that work for Disney who you interview with in the final process. But basically, the online applications are currently open now, so you can actually get applying. There's a couple of things that you need to be able to do or have in order to actually apply and be eligible for this programme, so I will get onto that. But because of this, and because some of us have already found out that we are accepted into the first stage, which is the interview, a few people are getting kind of nervous about it, and obviously you would like to know what happens at this particular interview and what you can expect, so that you're prepared and ready to go and hopefully not as nervous as you maybe are right now if you've been accepted. So that is what the aim of this video is, to basically go through and how to prep for the pre-screen and what it's going to be like. I will hopefully be vlogging on that day. Obviously I can't show you everything because I can't show you what's in there, but I can kind of show you the general sense of what it was like and my experience, and then obviously I will come home and I will explain it all to you guys. I'll be in a different setting by that point though, because I will be at university. So that leads me nicely onto the online application. In order to do this programme, you firstly have to be in university, and by the time you apply, so i.e. now, you have to have completed 1 full year of university. So basically starting your second year soon, that's pretty much what you have to do. So that does mean if you're doing a 3-year course, you can only go twice, but if, like me, and you maybe did a couple of years, I had to do an extra year for a placement, you would have the opportunity to go 3 times. Okay, so the other 2 things that you have to have or be able to do is that you have to be 18 years old, and you also have to be able to speak fluent English. That is just because Walt Disney World is obviously in America, and yes, there are a lot of tourists, but the general language everybody speaks is English. So you do have to be able to speak fluent English. So that's 3 things that you have to do before you can apply. Okay, so if you do have that and you are eligible, then the next thing is filling in the online application. When I did this the first year, it was a little bit more difficult. There were 3 big questions that you had to write 1,500 words for, and it got a little bit difficult because it was sort of trying not to repeat yourself with things you already said, so that became kind of hard. However, this year they've made it a lot easier for you, and I'll just basically go through now the kind of things that you have to fill in. So firstly, they ask for the very simple things like your name, your age, your date of birth, your passport number, all the general stuff that you can literally just pull out of a file and write down. Then it starts to get a little bit more difficult. You have to be able to tell everybody where you went to school, and also any qualifications, grades, that kind of thing that you do have. So you have to fit that all into one line. Which it does suggest how to fill it out in order to be able to do that, so there's no like sort of guessing of how to fill it in or missing anything out. They do tell you, but any qualifications that you do have, you need to just jot down. It then also asks for your work experience, and for this they give you little boxes. So it will ask where you worked, the role that you had in that location, and then also they asked for a description of sort of what your main roles were that you did. This one gives you about 1,500 characters in order for you to sort of fill out what it was that you did. And what I would recommend that you do, even though obviously it won't have been for Disney unless you worked for the Disney store, try and focus it as much as you can onto qualities that Disney are going to want. So what I recommend that you do is actually go onto Disney's website, onto their international programs website, and have a look what they're suggesting the kind of thing is that they're going to want you to do. So what roles they have available. So for example, they offer merchandise. Okay, so if you've worked at a retail store before, you can express that and say you're really good with customer service, that kind of thing. So you want to swing it and play it so that the experience that you guys have is going to be something that Disney is going to want. That's basically how to do it. So once you've done that, it then goes on to the one sort of difficult question, which there used to be 3, so I'm a lot happier now there's only 1, but it's basically what is your motivation for the programme. And the main thing that you do need to remember is that this is a cultural exchange programme. So in there you need to say something about the fact that you're wanting to share your culture with people, you're wanting to learn other people's cultures, that kind of thing, making friends with other cultures, that kind of thing. So if you've got any good experiences of it, pop it in there, because that might be something that has encouraged you to want to do the programme because you want to share that same experience, things like that. And that's actually it. It's just the dreaded thing of pressing the send button and hoping that it is all okay. I know a couple of times when I have submitted both of my applications, some of the things actually glitch on my computer. So for example, it shows that I started school in like 1900s. Obviously I didn't. But apparently that doesn't actually show up on their application that they're looking at, so it should be okay. I did ring up just to check that, but everything should be sent off. Just make sure that you spell check it all and that you're within the character limit, and you should be fine. They're now telling you, because of the fact the applications are open, but also that everybody is finding out the date that they're going for their pre-screen interview, that it's actually going to take 7 days from you submitting it for them to actually give you an answer as a yes or a no. And with that, they will then send you an email that tells you where your interview location is if you are lucky enough to get through, which is going to be at the Yummy Jobs HQ, which is in Essex, and the date and time that you need to be there. Luckily for this, there is currently Facebook groups going around that are things like Disney Cultural Exchange UK Applicants, I think is one of them, which I'm in, and they have group chats going for the date that your interview would be, so you can get to meet some of your friends that you're going to be in the interview process with, which is actually really nice, because it just sort of eases the tension when you get there, because you actually do really need to help each other to be able to get through the process, because it is a group interview. You've therefore got to be chatty and friendly, and ensure that you are listening to everybody else in the group with you. So I will get on to the pre-screen now and my experience over the first time I did it, and also how to prep for it, because it is a big thing. I would suggest going in there as prepared and as confident as you possibly can be, because it will really help you out, because it is a nerve-wracking thing. It is an interview and you are actually sat in there with other people in the room, which you might feel is a little bit scary because it's not just one person you're interviewing with, it's like 6 or 7. But they're all there for the same reason and they all want you to do well and succeed. So that's sort of the thing that you need to think about when you're going into it. So I will just go through the basic things. I do have some sheets here. I've got all the things about the pre-screen and the questions that they asked me the first time, which I know is a big thing for people. They want to know the kind of questions so that you can prep the answers. I'm not going to tell you the answers of what I'm going to say or did say, because then we'd all just be saying the same thing, and that really wouldn't be a good idea, because you can't just have everybody repeating yourself. So come up with original ideas, guys, because that really will help you out. You can't repeat something somebody else has said, unfortunately, because it doesn't look very good. It looks like you can't really think of anything or that you panicked. So I'm not going to tell you my answers, but I will tell you the questions so that you guys can prep at home. Okay, I've just realised I've missed something else, so just one additional thing to mention, guys. These were questions from 2 years ago. I didn't do the process last year, so just keep in mind that these are questions that may come up. They may not actually be the questions that are going to come up, but if you have a general idea of the sort of things that they're going to try and ask, it at least gives you a good footing, so that maybe you're not going to be as nervous when you get in there. As I said, in the email you guys will get given the date and the time that you need to be there. I would recommend that unless you really have a very genuinely good reason, if you can just try and stick to the date that you've been given. It just makes it a lot easier and looks like you really have taken the time to actually get down there. Secondly, one of the big things that people are asking is about how to dress when you go. This is an interview, so obviously you're going to want to dress smartly and in business wear. That's just the general thing. Somebody did mention about like wearing heels or not wearing heels and whether that's a good idea. Personally, I can't see how wearing some heels would impact your ability to get through to the programme or not. I just would recommend not wearing ridiculously high heels with short skirts, that kind of thing. But if you've got like court shoes, I wouldn't really say that's an issue. I personally am not going to go in heels, but that is mainly due to the fact that I really don't want to be in them all day walking through London to get to Essex on a tube. Not for me. So I won't be wearing heels, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't. I would just say dress smartly and think about it smartly. That would be what I would say. I think last year I went in a dress, in just like a blue straight up and down dress, which was totally acceptable, and I just wore some black tights with it. That was the general thing really, dresses, shirts, skirts, that kind of thing. Or just basically your smart attire. Also, if you have any piercings that are visible other than obviously your ears pierced, then I would recommend taking them out. Also, if you have garish coloured hair, so for example pink or purple, whilst it might look really cool, and I definitely have some pink hair dye that I've been wanting to put in my hair, but I'm waiting until after the interview because it doesn't look professional and it's also not a natural blended colour, then I would also recommend getting that out or going over it with a different colour. Okay, so that's sort of the general idea of sort of what to expect going or prepping for it in terms of your clothing and how to present yourself when you go to the interview. Okay, so I have found out that my interview is on Tuesday the 27th of September for the 9:15 group. So hey guys, if you are watching this and you are also in my interview, I'm looking forward to meeting you all. I am going to go through the general idea of what happens on this long-ish day, because whilst it is super fun and I actually really enjoyed this, which sounds weird because it is an interview, it is really fun, it just is a tiring day because obviously I do have to be on the ball like the whole time. So it can be tiring, but you just really need to keep going with it, and there are plenty of things that get you hyped up. When you go to this interview, the first thing that they do is an hour presentation, which basically goes through the roles that you can do whilst you're at Walt Disney World, the general thing of what would happen when you're there, and then also any fees that have to be paid. There are a lot of fees, there's a housing fee, an application fee, that kind of thing, so it does go through that. It also goes through your pay, how much you would be expected to get paid, things like that. Also different opportunities, there are classes that you can go to at the Disney University, there is tons of things to do, and then it obviously shows you a video that just gets you really excited about actually going there to Walt Disney World and working for this amazing company. Okay, so once you've been hyped up and you've been told your interview time to go back, you then are going to be in a room with around about 6 people. You sit in a semicircle just so that everybody can see each other, because the aim of this is to sort of bounce off each other. You want to look like you're engaged with everybody's conversation, so I would just say try and chat with each other as much as you can. Whilst it is an awkward and unnatural situation, you do need to try and make it as natural as you possibly can, because they are looking at you and how you interact with others that you don't know, which is obviously something you're gonna have to do in Walt Disney World when you're talking to guests, so that is something that is really important. I'm now going to go through the questions with you guys, so that you kind of know what they're roughly going to ask you and also how to prepare for it. So the first thing that they asked us to do was introduce ourselves and also tell us one interesting fact about yourself. Just think of anything that you've done. I think the first time I went, I used that I was the treasurer of a baking society at my university, which, whilst a fun thing to do, actually did show something good about myself, in terms of the fact that I was able to look after a group of people, that kind of thing. So if you can think of something along those lines, or maybe you do a sport at university, or you're in a team at university, that kind of thing really, or if you've done anything really out of the ordinary, then I would definitely say something along those lines. Got all my questions here. So they then go around the room and they ask everybody, so starting with the first person, they then just go around the room and ask the same question in the same order to everybody. So it's a question at a time for each person. So the first question that they ask is, why do you want to work for Disney? This is basically kind of re-saying what you'd said in your application, because that pretty much summed up why you did want to work for the company. The next question is, what other company do you admire for its customer service? This one is kind of difficult to come up with on the spot, so it's a really good idea to have an example in mind. I'm pretty sure some people have said things like Apple before, just because they're a big leading company, but obviously Disney are the leading entertainment company in the world, so you kind of need to think of something along par. It doesn't have to be a big company. If you've had an experience with a company where they've had great customer service, that you can use that example and suggest that you would use it in the company, then that obviously is going to be a good idea. The next question, how do you plan to give 110% at all times? Obviously, it can be quite a demanding job. You can be working some seriously long hours, especially, for example, if you're in Magic Kingdom and you don't finish a shift till 4. I've certainly had some late shifts working at ESPN. It's just the way that it works out. So obviously, they want to make sure that you're constantly smiling and that you're always friendly to the guests that you meet and greet. So they are asking there, how are you going to make sure that we receive 110% from you at all times, that you're not going to be grumpy in front of our guests, because even at 2 AM we still want you to have that magical touch. So you just want to think of an answer for that. The next one that they ask, they always put one of these sort of scenario questions in. It could change, but this is specifically the one I received in my interview a couple of years ago. So they asked, if a child has waited in the queue for their favourite character, Mickey Mouse, and he's got too hot or had to go on a break, how would you diffuse the situation positively? And what you really want to do here is to give a story, because Disney is all about making stories, because obviously for kids we don't want them to let them know, oh, don't worry, in 2 seconds time another guy's going to come out as a Mickey Mouse. Obviously they don't want to know that because they think there is only one Mickey Mouse. So just think of a good story of what you would tell a little child who's desperate to meet their favourite character, and you'll be fine. So the next question, how would you describe your home to guests? So your hometown here in the UK, obviously a lot of guests will either just be from America and therefore maybe haven't travelled across the world, or even just haven't been to where you guys are from. So you just want to make sure that you can give like a good picture image of what your hometown looks like. So basically that will just be generally what your home looks like and how you would describe it to somebody. So the next question, what can you bring to the company from your culture? I would come up with some good things of what your culture is known for. I have a couple of ideas in my head and I'll probably just give a few out. But yeah, it's got to be obviously positive things, things that are really good about your culture, that you would be looking forward to share with people. Or if you think about it maybe the opposite way around and what you would be excited to know from other cultures, so even from American or Chinese or anything along those lines, what it is that you would like to know from their culture, and then maybe you could think of something that relates to yours to give back to others, if that makes sense. It's kind of a hard question, that one. Again, it's definitely worth thinking about before you go into it. Next question, and again, sort of a scenario one. We got asked, if you had a messy roommate and there was an inspection coming up, how would you diffuse this situation? Obviously you are going to be living with other people, and you also will be sharing a room with either 1 or 2 people depending on where you would like to live and the kind of room that you want, because now they have bunk beds, so you could actually be living with 3 people in a room, one of them being yourself. So obviously there could eventually be some form of situation, and usually it is to do with messy rooms, and we do get inspected, so you do want to make sure that your house is going to be tidy, because obviously you don't want to get a penalty for it. They do ask you this question and you've just really got to think of a way that you can diffuse it. That sort of is just common sense really, and how you would speak to your friends in order to make sure that you'll pass the inspection. Another question, that again is sort of an easy one really for you to answer, is how would you cope with the heat? And they're asking you this because you will be surprised, you know, if you were a character performer, you are sat in these hot heavy suits in 100-degree weather, and it can get pretty grueling sometimes, and again you have to keep giving 110%. So they're really just asking because they want to make sure that you are actually able to cope with the heat, because a lot of the time people do underplay how hot it can get. I know when I was there on my holiday recently, there was pretty much 1 person a day I either saw get carried away on a stretcher or throw up from being overly dehydrated. So if you can think of ways that you're going to be able to cope with it, then that's a great way. Okay, next question, what would you get out of this experience? This is sort of a play on from your interview, your online application question, sorry, because it's sort of what you have had as an experience that maybe you want to get out or give back to other people. Again, it could be things like making friends with other people from different cultures, but really this will be just an individual preference. It's what you would like to get out of this experience, what you are most looking forward to out of the experience if you got through. So you should be able to think of something there. And the final question that we did get asked is, what Disney character are you most like and why? So you just want to pick a character. It can be your favourite character, that's not a problem, and sometimes it's easier if it's your favourite character because you can think of the good qualities about them and why you represent with that character. And that is it. They are the questions that I was asked when I did the cultural exchange programme a couple of years ago. There may be little tweaks depending on the scenario that they decide, but just try and think of a story for those kind of answers. And you guys should be fine. The interview is about 40 to 45 minutes. Obviously if somebody has a longer answer it could overrun slightly, but that's generally around the time that it is. Just bounce off each other, look engaged, nod along to what other people are saying, keep smiling, interact with the person that's interviewing you, and you will be okay. It really isn't a bad experience. It's great fun. You get to meet other people that are also super excited to work for Disney, and you're all there together helping each other. But it really is really great fun. The presentation's superb, and I really wish you guys good luck with it. I hope you all get through, and I hope to see some of you at the interview. So I will see you next time. Bye!